Yeah, what up? It's your boy Alley Cat.
And I'm the infamous twin.
And you're now watching the Kultcha. And we standing here with Edwin Raymond, the whistleblower on the N.Y.P.D. Let's go.
Edwin Raymond, I'm an activist, somebody here for the people, also Lieutenant of Police, and this is the culture. No, I'm the culture.
It doesn't matter, baby.
We all the culture.
We all the culture. So, I mean, how do we start? Let's start because we had 2516 Newkirk, Flatbush, Brooklyn, where he was born and raised. Haitian descent. I mean, tell us the beginning.
So,
hold on. And the youngest is 6. I mean, I do my little background checks, credit checks, and all that. I'm something like a bank. You heard me?
So I was born right here, mid-'80s, grew up in the 90s, rougher times, a very different New York. And it's part of the building blocks that made me who I am today. My mother died when I was a baby. Sorry to hear that. So my dad, he wasn't working from the time I was about 6. So this caused, we struggled. My brother and I, we struggled. I have a brother about 18 months older than me. We struggled, but it was more communal out here. So everybody took care of us. All my friends' moms made sure we could eat when they could. We was all struggling, but we came to visit community. And this is it. It's the beginning, man.
I mean, you so used to telling this story lately. Very humble beginnings. And so, I mean, coming from Brooklyn, the home of, the home of coffee, and to become a police officer in N.Y.P.D, they have stereotypes. They'll say, well, he wasn't tough enough, so he had to become an officer to, the stereotype.
Yeah, he was bullied in school.
Yeah, so what made you want to be an officer?
Honestly, man, right at the next corner, like around 16, the cops started stopping me. And I get it. It's rough out here. But I wasn't involved. They started stopping, frisk. And it started really frustrating me. But when I was 18, so about 2 years ago, I did this. When I was 18, right on the next corner, cops stopped me, threw me on the wall, emptied my pockets. One of them, actually, I was with my girl at the time. He gave my girl his number. And I was just like, yo,
wow.
Yeah, no. No.
Had to look away on that one.
Wow. Pretty much. He was like a Dominican looking cat. And that what stood out about that was most of the times it was white officers. So it was very easy for me to write it off as racist, just regular bigotry. White, I'm a young black teen. You don't like black people, so you treat me this way. So when it was a Dominican brother, it kind of stood out because it was like, wait, he's black. So why am I still getting the same treatment? That's when I made the decision to join the police department. Really to get an idea of what's going on. Thinking, at 18 being naive, that once I become part of the department, ideas that I have on how to, achieve their goal without, the wide fishnet affecting everyone else, I'm thinking they would have been receptive to that. I was naive, I was 18. So I joined at 22, man.
So joining at 22, you saw the due process and being a rookie and coming in. Did you experience racism out the gate? Because,
That's a good question because I really want to know, is there any racism in the academy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
One of the things that stood out was my hair. I had this here in the academy. There's a lot of
Yeah.
So they were not trying to hear it. I felt it. One instructor stopped me. He said, "Didn't they tell you to cut your hair when you were applying?" I said, "No, sir." And he said, "It's fucking job's for all this shit." And he walks away. And I stand at attention. Yes, sir.
Look, you got the job where bullets fly. You don't tell them time out. Hold on. I don't want you to shoot. So we shoot with film. So we ain't gonna stop because this is what the people need to show the reality of where we at, what we're talking about, and show that you're tangible. We can reach you, touch you, especially that you're running for an office space. We're gonna get to that, but finish telling the story. Because I want to go from the beginning to end. I want to start with 22.
Yeah.
We started as a baby at 25, 16, where we standing in front of, where he could come back to. And since we've been here and started filming, everybody's been showing him love in the community, shout him out. And that's how it should be. To me, my own opinion, just pulling up here in Flatbush, Brooklyn, and knowing that all the problems that people have with police, it's safe to say that you're not a dick. I know so many words. So finish telling us about the academy and the races and how it went.
Yeah,
So,
so here and the tattoos. Like, what's some of the other things that you saw in the academy?
I mean, what they call it, the cafeteria litmus test, where litmus test, like in the cafeteria, just like in high school. People kept to who they felt they were more familiar with. So you see, a lot of times certain people wasn't invited on the table.
Segregation.
Yeah, definitely segregation. I was in the academy the same year that Obama was running for president. So I'll never forget the day when he won. And his attention was thick. And I remember this one officer said, I can't wait for terrorists to attack them. When the motherfuckers who voted for him, I hope they're the first to die. Because that was kind of how they made sense of not voting for him. That we're in war, he's a junior senator, he doesn't have the expertise. Maybe down the line, those that wanted to sound as if they were fair, maybe down the line with a little bit more political experience, he might be able to be president. Those same people voted for Trump and never been in office again. So it's bullshit, but it's what they said to themselves. But in terms of the academy, for the most part, it's like boot camp. It's high discipline. So that's not really where you start to see it yet. It's after.
How about particularly in the training? Like, say they put on the screen of somebody, and maybe they're about to pull out a gun. Your reaction to it. Who are those people depicted on the screen? Are they black, white? That's what I want.
Honestly, they purposely make sure it's white, just to not, because they're thinking they don't want to, paint that image. Yeah.
wow.
I mean, this makes fun. Yeah, I noticed part of the reason for that is the actors that they use are the cops from the academy. Because so many cops are white, it ends up being white on the screen.
Okay. That's cool. So when you're done with the academy, right? Do you start as a beat cop? Is it a walking cop?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the term beat cop is not used as often, but you're just a rookie.
they emphasize quotas so much when you, especially a beat cop, and you start out as a rookie. How important is that to the precinct? Definitely, because I know there's a culture change value from the academy to the precinct, right? When I go by a precinct, there's dead cops on the wall that may have been murdered or killed in the line of duty. Do they emphasize on those photos and be like, "Don't be like that. This is why you must pull the trigger first and ask questions later"? Is that type of culture inside these precincts?
Yeah, I mean, the whole tribe by 12 and carry by 6. That's something that you're hearing. A dead person that doesn't have a story. You hear some craziness.
A dead person doesn't have a story. So when you hear all these things, because believe it or not, it's not a lot of color in NYPD at one time. So not seeing a lot of color, you're not really being policed by your own. So when you bring in a white man from Suffolk County or even a person of Asian descent, they don't really understand us. Like, you can walk the beat out here. What precinct would this be?
6-7.
6-7. You can walk the 6-7 because your community. We don't have that. Like, back in 1960s, maybe even earlier than that, the police officer were from your community in the sense of, because they said, hey, listen, let the niggas deal with the niggas. And see, even using that word, believe it or not, that's not a derogatory word. It was made derogatory. It's pronounced niggas. I think it stems from Ethiopia, and that's the word of saying king. But when they beat you in slavery, they said, "Oh, you a nigga. You a nigga." That's like saying, when you define it, saying, "Oh, you a king. Oh, you a king." So it became derogatory because no king gets beat. You understand what I'm saying? So you're not being policed by your own, so they don't really understand. So how was the
When you first came
situation?
out here, what's the training like? Is it just arrest, or is it learning how to deal with the community?
Just arrest, summonses, and stop.
So hold on.
It's a
Was you
trifecta.
partner? What was you partner? What was the how would you say the race or ethnicity that you was partnering with? Yeah.
My partner was a Dominican sister.
Okay, so she was from
From the hood. Yeah, she was from the hood. We got along well, but then she got pregnant.
So that came and went.
Yeah, so I think maybe the fourth or fifth month, I didn't have a partner. I would just be partnering up with different people all the time. And depending on who I worked with, it was a different vibe. You know what I mean?
Say a lot of assholes majority.
You know what? They don't start off that way, man. But when the system only recognizes arrest summonses and stop offense, and nothing else that you do is what matters, you start to adjust only to those incentives. So in their eyes, they were just doing their jobs, but they didn't realize they were becoming dicks. They didn't see that.
So, and I mean, knowing the quotas and knowing that you spoke out, I can. Is it safe to say that you probably say, "Yo, listen, man, that don't, how would you say, warrant arrest?" Like a little kid selling candy, you could be like, "I know I gotta move them, so let me move them, let me talk them." Instead of saying, "Yo, let me cuff them," and then get them to the precinct and be like, "Oh, listen, you know, you shouldn't do that." There you gave them a record. So, is that safe to say you didn't partake in that?
No, I never went along with the quota. Granted, if the supervisor's there, and they say you got to do something, as long as it's lawful, you got to do it, else you could be faced with charges. So if the supervisor was there, certain things, there were times I did things that I personally wouldn't have done, you know, if it was just my discretion. But when it was me, because in transit, after I left the booking unit, you patrol by yourself. So when I had my own discretion, you know, I policed fairly. There were times where I locked someone up, and they knew. They never put up a resistance because they knew what it was. But situations that get stretched just so someone can make the arrest, you know what I mean? I never went into that.
So, with that being said, so all these years, when did you walk in, or am I going too fast? To say with all these years of seeing this, experiencing this, and witnessing, when did you walk in one day and walk into the precinct and said, "I had enough"? Like the movie, what was the cop that told one of the white movies? I think it was Al Pacino. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Right movie? Serpico. When he said, "You know what? I'm tired of the corruption." Because you know they had the 75th precinct. They was dirty. You know, I mean, to me,
at the time, all of them were there.
But I'll be honest with you, and I'm saying this, and I'll say this in front of you. I don't think it's any real good cops when you can turn around and say, you can stand here and be like, "Nah, he has a right. He's right, but just let it go." Because I think you're back at shit too. And if you're gonna just stand there, well, we got to allow.
Let's speak on the flip side of that. What is the consequences for cops not following the protocol or the culture of that precinct?
First, you become the provider. You know, you get ostracized. They don't come. You know, there's a fear that when you call for backup, nobody's showing up. It's real.
Really, as a police officer, really.
Yeah.
Well, I did hear you mention that on a couple of interviews. You said, or you'll have to go to the old folks' home and watch a dead body.
Yeah. So they have retaliation.
What's going on, bro?
Give us some water.
No, we good.
We good, man.
It's the closest thing I have to a little brother. That's what's up.
Like I said, you see, he's in the community. Oh, we still shooting, so we're not stopping.
Yeah, it's good for people to see this because
they need to see that because you know when you hear an officer and then you do meet him, like I've done panels, you know, and I tell officers that are my good friends. You might be good to me, but you might be a bag of shit to somebody else. That's one of my favorite words for officers.
Okay.
You know, like that's what me and Alan Nurse says. He was on our show.
And that's the thing because when I see a lot of your interviews, it's always get straight to what's going on in the precinct. You're a cop. What's going on in here?
And you're honest.
They don't deal with the humanity side of you to see why you wanted to change. It has to be your upbringing. It has to be this building. It has to be your environment around you that made you have that frame of thought to start trying to change. So what was that? What were some of those things that kept that core in you to be like, I'm gonna be who I am?
Yeah. So literally right here is where I got the autobiography of Malcolm X. That's why I started doing a lot of reading. And my mind was already on the right path. So when I joined the academy, I wasn't as impressionable as others. You know what I mean? So when it came about quotas, you know, all about quotas and this oppressive style of policing, I can get down with it because of the level of consciousness that I already have. But most 22-year-olds, they just try to make you secure back. You know what I mean?
Oh, you only what,
And that's
30, 34, 35 now?
And that's the peer pressure I'm talking about. So, you know, if you take somebody's food away, if you take somebody's money away, you're not getting overtime at the job. For some reason, you're getting stuck in the old folks' home. Like,
You got to deal with the depth of the shitty.
I can't amount the type of pressure that you must be under sometimes. It must be like for like a million against one. When he started to make a statement.
I do want to give you, as we go along, in doing this interview and having this discussion. I do want to give you your flowers. And I commend
While
you
he's alive.
while you're alive. You know, I think Officer, his name was last name. I don't know if his last name was Jordan, but he was in L.A. Officer that couldn't take it no more. Similar ways, but he went out and killed everybody. Chris Jordan Broner, something like that. Right? I'll have the name. We'll post it when this episode drops. We'll give you the description and everything. It'll be under our interview and conversation. But yeah,
I read his manifesto and I understood it, man. I understood what he was feeling. You know, his way of dealing with it, you know, was unfortunate, but I understood what he was feeling. And, you know, it's tough. You know, it's tough. It becomes your career. You work hard to get to a position, but when you see what's going on, you're trying your best to push the needle in the right direction from within. But you realize the system is designed to survive. So you got to be ready for a fight.
Well,
it's just about ranking.
100%.
But you know, believe it or not, we deal with racism every day. Listen to the ice cream truck. It's just going by. The song is "Niggas Love Watermelon." Ha 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 ha. We never do that. So we always being constantly brainwashed. So I'm glad that you wasn't impressionable, and being impressionable, no matter how you look at it, that's a form of being brainwashed.
Let's stick right there with some of that history. What is some of the history of being a police officer, cop? What is some of that history?
Okay. I mean, it stems. So it's honestly the modern policing is partially is a mirror of the system, the Metropolitan Police in London, but in the South specifically, you know, they were militias, slave patrol militias. You know, where after slavery, they literally just converted into police departments, and unfortunately, continue to operate in the same manner. The difference is, you know, they would catch runaway slaves before, and now any and everything you do is criminalized. So they still catch them. You understand? And a lot of cops don't know that history. You know, they don't know a lot of the stems from it.
You say that one more time. A lot of cops,
they don't know that history. That's slave patrol history.
So we always talking about us as our community being miseducated, but it's also a lot of people of a different race that's also miseducated as well. So I think that's a good point he brought up, because it shows their miseducation themselves. You know what I'm saying? And if you are a European race, you got the best education here. How could you not know that? You know what I'm saying? Because it benefits them probably.
Yeah, it's purposely admitted.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, well, it goes into the classic system.
A lot of people just think is be cop, car cop, detective, lieutenant, and that's it. How much ranking?
And commander. I mean, commissioner.
I don't know all that.
Yeah. So all the way bottom up, police officer, detective, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, deputy inspector, deputy chief, assistant chief, bureau chief, chief of patrol.
Did you get that?
One more time. Just a little loud.
Like, I never heard that.
Police officer, detective, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, deputy inspector, deputy chief, assistant chief, bureau chief, chief of department, commissioner. That's about.
And you're a sergeant.
I'm a lieutenant.
A lieutenant. So you over it.
Yeah. One of their biggest fears was someone like me becoming a supervisor. They even want me on the job, let alone be a supervisor. So my commander at the time, he tried to sabotage my promotion, and it worked for a bit. I got promoted 9 months after than I was supposed to. I was number 8 on the list. 11,000 cops took the test, 6,000 passed.
He was number 8.
6,000 cops took the test. 932 passed. I was number 8. I was supposed to get promoted with the first group of 50. And instead, they didn't promote. It's one of the most devastating things. You know, you work hard.
So they skipped you.
They skipped me here.
Wow.
For 9 months.
So now that you're a lieutenant, captain is that lieutenant. So do you want to still climb that success ladder?
So originally that was the plan, but I've since made the decision to run for city council instead.
Give this man his flowers now.
What are the changes that you feel you want to make? Because, and I'm gonna jump into it, and then I'm gonna bring us back. I'm gonna let you bring us back, but I'm gonna jump into it. You know, with the COVID-19, and then we have the protests. I mean, a lot of people don't understand how we come from protest to riot and looting, but it's always a systematic breakdown to that. And then people shut up on it when they shouldn't, because they need to understand what's going on. So, how they say political science. You're gonna start as a councilman.
Yeah.
And what district are you running?
I'm in District 40.
District 40. Which district is that? So people can know. Is
Yeah,
that
City Council District 40 comprises of Flatbush, East Flatbush, Kensington, Business Park, Prospect Reference Garden. Those are the areas that District 40 consider Brooklyn.
so now?
Hold on. So when you hear him running, please support this brother. Because that's what we do. We support. I'm gonna be supported.
And
I'm gonna be supported.
And I'm gonna be very supportive because some fact is he said something that sticks with me off the record, and I'm gonna put it on the record. He said, "You don't know who you're speaking to, but everybody is not only a voter; they're the person in your community." So we're going back to our roots and knowing that our community and somewhat of saying that this is the village, and we're not good without our village. So, and that's the family-orientated basis of the foundation. So, with him saying that, and going councilman, so you're gonna leave the force?
Once I win the election, I'm gonna leave the force.
Nice. I like how you said that. Once I win. Let me ask you a question. Then I'm gonna let Twin take us back. But I'm gonna go into this one last question. I mean, I'm gonna have more questions. So now, let me ask you. You become councilman. Are you? You're still part of the law, right? Once you become councilman, do you fear? Because I mean, you let you blew the whistle. Do you fear for your life? And not with the people on the street, because listen, we watching people coming in and out. This is the whole community. Obviously, we know you don't live here no more, but we see the young men out here. I mean, but you don't live in this building. And believe it or not, that is a good thing to say too, because now you just let the world know that you're still accessible. But a lot of people are not. They become police officers and move out to Jersey, Westchester, Long Island, Staten Island. So he's letting you know he's accessible, and you have your community ties. So do you fear, especially being a black man? Because every day being a black man and being an officer as a black man, I'm not gonna lie to you. You're somewhat kind of safe. And now that you blew the whistle and you become a councilman, would you still say the safe or kind of safe?
I never think I'm safe. I already don't think I'm safe. I'm at high school 5 years ago, 5.5 years. It was January 2015. One day I woke up and said, if I gotta die for this shit, it's one of the most powerful, most liberating feelings in my life. I didn't go to sleep thinking about this. I don't even know where it came from. I just woke up and I said, if I have to die, I don't want to die. But if I have to, I accept it. And that's what allowed me to become a whistleblower. When you can look death in the face, what's suspending you versus death? What's firing you versus death? What's anything that the department traditionally does if I'm ready to die? So I'm not afraid of that.
Positive quote.
Yeah, exactly.
When I saw your video, you had secret undercover video.
Yeah.
I've been paying attention.
Yeah, man.
So y'all was taking a lot of chances and putting your life on the line of even saying that, a lot of people care about their career. You put your career on the line.
My life, everything. Put it all on the line for people. And again, I was at peace with that. So the last politician to be assassinated in the United States is, I believe, July of 2003, was a former N.Y.P.D officer who ran for city council and retired after 10 years. They killed him in City Hall. His name was James E. Davis. And a lot of people called it was like, I'm trying to get, I'm afraid, man. No, you remind us too much of Davis.
This is Alright, Right, Addiction.